His murder was fairly shocking. I think it shocked a lot of people.
What might have occurred for this to escalate into a killing?
There was a search. We were looking for anything.
An offhanded comment may hold the key to solving the murder.
This may have been a political assassination.
If a leader wants to take you out, they'll take you out and your entire family.
I'm scared. I'm afraid to go to the apartment. Somebody might kill me there.
Somebody gave him a heads up that we were coming.
He have to hide his identity. If he would tell the truth, all of us will be killed.
Resonated with us at People magazine because it involves an Oscar-winning actor, a murder, and a case that really spans the globe.
It's 1985, and Dr. Hang Noor lives an idyllic, quiet life with his niece, Sophia, who he's adopted as his own daughter and cared for since she was 9 years old.
I'm Sophia Dimitri. I'm Hang Noor's niece.
It was wonderful. We have a great life. We were a very happy family. He more than my uncle. He's a dad, he's a mom, he's my friend. He's everything to me.
Dr. Noor has just won an Academy Award for his role in the movie The Killing Fields that tells the story of the brutal Cambodian genocide.
Hang S. Noor in The Killing Fields.
When I saw him up there, I was very proud. I said, that's my uncle.
But Hang Noor is no ordinary actor, and how he got to this point is an interesting story. He actually survived the brutal torture and atrocities that were portrayed in the movie. The Cambodian genocide began in 1975 when communist dictator Pol Pot and his ruthless regime, known as the Khmer Rouge, overran Cambodia's capital. Their takeover quickly deteriorated into a bloody massacre of intellectuals and professionals.
They were killing doctors and professional people?
Any kind of you educated people or you
Anybody educated?
Yeah, let's kill you.
My uncle's life changed completely after the Khmer Rouge took over. Before he was a doctor, he was a gynecologist. And during that time, he had to hide his identity, or all of us will be killed.
To keep himself and his family safe, Hang impersonates an illiterate taxi driver. He has to constantly look over his shoulder, and 3 times he's imprisoned and tortured to give up his true identity.
They take him, they beat him, they tied him up and hang and question him, and they torture him.
Hang is able to survive through the torture, but unfortunately, he's not able to save his family. His wife and Sophia's father and mother all are killed at the hands of the Khmer Rouge. And he knows that he and Sophia must escape or they'll be killed.
Then we escaped to Thai border. I remember that we saw the Red Cross and American flags. And he lifted me up and hugged me, say we're safe.
Hang and Sophia immigrate to the United States and try to move past their shared grief. And together, they make a new life in Los Angeles.
I was happy then, you know, even though once in a while I think about my parents, but I think I'm okay now because I have my uncle.
Hank gets a job as a social worker, and he starts a foundation and begins raising money for Cambodian refugees and orphans of the genocide. In 1983, on a whim, Hang auditions for a role in The Killing Fields. And amazingly, the casting director wants him to be the co-star of the film.
She think that my uncle fit that character. She think that he perfect for the role. He was excited that he could show the world what's going on in Cambodia.
The film is a huge hit and wins accolades and numerous awards, and Hang is truly living the American dream. He survived the Cambodian genocide, saved his niece, and escaped to the United States, becomes a humanitarian, and now he's an Oscar winner.
And I thank Warner Brother for helping me tell my story to the world, let the world know what happened in my country.
Ten years later, at about 9 o'clock on Sunday evening, February 25th, 1996, Dr. Hang Noor is tragically found dead outside his apartment in an alleyway in Chinatown. Detective John Garcia arrives at the scene.
I'm John Garcia, retired Detective Sergeant, Los Angeles Police Department, Robbery Homicide Division. Dr. Noor was laying adjacent to his vehicle. He was shot, one to the left leg and one to the upper torso area, and they were both in a downward trajectory. So whoever shot Dr. Noor was standing next to him as he was seated in his vehicle.
I'm Craig Hum, and I'm the prosecutor on the Hang Noor case. Dr. Noor had probably just arrived home when he was confronted because he hadn't had time to get fully out of the car before he was attacked.
As reporters and people nearby begin to gather at the scene, Detective Garcia stands over the victim's lifeless body, trying to determine what caused this man's death.
With any and all crime scenes involved with a death of someone, I always had the same practice. I would stand over the body, and in a quiet moment, I would say, okay, guide me. Tell me what happened. Let me help you find the person who did this to you. Because they can't speak for themselves anymore.
Crime scene technicians comb through the scene, looking for any evidence of how or why Dr. Noor's life was taken.
2 9mm shell casings were found at the scene, one next to the car and one underneath it.
Then there's a telling discovery inside Hang's jacket in the back seat of his car. It's nearly $3,000 in cash.
The fact that such a significant amount of money was still found at the location could indicate that robbery wasn't the motive, that he was killed for some other reason.
But what could that reason possibly be? Aside from the money and the casings, which are consistent with a 9mm gun, there's really little else to go on.
We were looking up and down the alley for fingerprints or any type of weapon. There was a lot of graffiti, but unfortunately, we were not able to find any evidence. At that point, we started canvassing the neighborhood to gather as much information as we could.
As police canvass the neighborhood, Sophia is notified that her uncle has been murdered.
It was very hard. Like now, I'm alone again. My whole life is shattered. He's all I have. I lost everything. Usually you offer once, but I offered twice.
After talking with Sophia, police learned that Dr. Noor had some powerful enemies, ones who had the means and the motive to silence him. Dr. Noor had used his fame as a launch pad for speaking out against the Khmer Rouge, and he'd set out on a mission to hold them accountable for their atrocities.
Today I will share a little bit of human rights violation in Cambodia. The killing field just touched the tip of the iceberg on it. The war is over, but the battle is going on.
Some in the Cambodian community cautioned Hang against publicly confronting the ruthless Pol Pot, but Hang wouldn't be silenced.
I was scared for him because he spoke freely about Cambodia and wasn't safe, but he didn't care. He just wanted to help the people in his country, but the Khmer was still around, so I'm always worried about him.
He was reminding people and bringing people's attention to what occurred during the Khmer Rouge. So there was certainly motivations for people who didn't want him speaking badly about the government.
Based on this information, investigators now suspect that Hang's death may have been a political assassination.
Oh, wow. It's a government plot.
In February of 1996, police are investigating the murder of Oscar-winning actor Hang Noor because he was so outspoken against the Khmer Rouge, a brutal regime who killed his family and millions of other Cambodians. Investigators believe that Hang may be the victim of a political assassination.
He survived one of the most brutal regimes in recent history, only to be cut down in the street in Chinatown.
It looked like a political contract killing because there were no witnesses. Late at night, he was by himself. Money's left behind. And most assassins get in, do the deed, get out.
Since this case has potential international implications, the story explodes in the media, and Detective Garcia is feeling the strain of solving this high-profile homicide investigation.
In working high-profile murder cases, that's par for the course. You're gonna get pressure from the media. Everybody has questions, but I couldn't provide any answers. It's very early on in the investigation.
The political fear and intrigue is high in the Cambodian community, who are especially saddened over the murder of someone who did so much for their community.
My name is Edward Yi. At the time of this case, I was a Los Angeles police officer. Cambodians were shocked that he was murdered, especially since they knew what he did for people and how he was still trying to help Cambodians in the community, as well as Cambodians that were still in Cambodia.
Building rapport with Cambodians and the Asian community in Chinatown proves more difficult than police expect.
You have to understand the culture where they came from, and that law enforcement, they're seen as the enemy.
The Cambodian community didn't really trust law enforcement based a lot on their experiences back in Cambodia, and also a number of people were concerned that if this turned out to be a political hit, they didn't want to be seen as cooperating with law enforcement.
Part of the reason for this is a centuries-old Asian tradition called Kum that explains why some in the community are so fearful of retribution from the Khmer Rouge.
In the Asian community, if a leader wants to take you out, they'll take you out and your entire family, because that son of that person that you killed is going to grow up. He's going to come after you.
At that time, I couldn't go to the apartment, and I'm afraid to go there. Somebody might kill me there. I was very scared.
Investigators run into further complications when they meet with the last person to see Hang Noor alive, his close friend and cousin, Tommy New.
Dr. Noor had dinner with Tommy in Long Beach and then left Tommy's place in Long Beach and drove home to Chinatown where he was murdered.
Meeting Tommy New was difficult in the sense that there was the language barrier. So we couldn't get a whole lot of information from him.
To bridge the communication gap and gain the community's trust, Detective Garcia enlists the help of someone who grew up in Chinatown.
You need cooperation in any community to investigate any case, especially a murder. So they brought me on to canvass the area to interview people.
Ed Yee was persistent. He would not take no for an answer. Every single door in that 2-block radius was approached and the residents were spoken to.
Almost every other door I door knocked, somebody knew me from Chinatown. Either I went to school with, a classmate, or the parents recognized me from the neighborhood. So they felt comfortable talking to me.
While Officer Lee canvasses the neighborhood, police search Hang Noor's apartment for any evidence at all of a political assassination.
We executed a search warrant as residents, and we were looking for anything. We discovered female undergarments. It was addressed with Sophia, and she stated that those items did not belong to her.
Police learned that besides Hang Noor's political and cultural passions, he also had a very active social life and was somewhat of a ladies' man.
Dr. Noor appeared to be fairly comfortable around women, seemed to be very popular with women.
Several women come forward claiming to be heirs to Dr. Noor's estate. One woman even produces a Las Vegas marriage license.
They claim that they have marriage certificate, they're married to my uncle. There's no woman, only my uncle and I. Now all these women claim that they're wife.
These women mistakenly believe that Hang Noor was wealthy. So the question is, could one of these women have murdered him to gain access to his estate, or could one of them have connections to the Khmer Rouge? By the end of March 1996, police have worked nonstop for a month to chase down countless leads and rumors, but they've really found nothing to connect to Hang's murder.
Although we've never learned the reason Dr. Noor had such a significant amount of money with him in the car. There wasn't any kind of a connection to the Khmer Rouge, and there didn't seem to be any financial motive for Dr. Noor to be killed. There didn't appear to be anyone who benefited, received a significant amount of money, or anything of that nature.
For investigators, the endless hours of work are starting to take their toll.
When you work 20 hours a day, just get home to sleep an hour or two, it's extremely exhausting.
But then, an offhanded comment from Sophia may hold the key to solving Hang Noor's murder.
One day, I asked Detective Garcia if they find my uncle a watch and his necklace. He always wear them. He would never leave home without it.
I said, what Rolex? What necklace?
Investigators believe the murder of Hang Noor was a political assassination. But now, Sophia has just dropped a bombshell. She asked Detective Garcia if they ever recovered a Rolex watch and a gold chain necklace that her uncle always wore.
She says he bought that Rolex as a gift for himself, and the necklace had a locket. He never took it off. Never, ever took it off.
Based on this information, Detective Garcia follows up with Tommy New to verify if Hang was wearing his Rolex watch and the locket on the night of the murder.
They were able to learn that photographs were taken at the dinner he had with Tommy New, and in one of those photographs you could clearly see Dr. Noor wearing his Rolex. And at that point in time, this really changed the direction of the investigation. It became clear to the detectives that this murder may very well have been a robbery because there was missing property.
So instead of a political assassination, investigators now suspect that Hang's death may have been a chain snatch.
Well, chain snatching basically is you're wearing, say, jewelry around your neck or around your wrist. So I'll run up to you and I'll just grab it from you and I'll just snatch it and pull it off of your neck. Then they would take it down to a local jewelry store and they would sell it.
The detectives did try and locate the locket and the Rolex in pawn shops in the Chinatown area, but they were unable to locate those specific items.
Even though we didn't find the Rolex or the necklace, we knew snatching of jewelry was very, very common with gang activity in the area.
Knowing this information, police recognize a possible clue that could lead them to Dr. Noor's killer.
Back then, every gang would tag the walls to signify what gang they're from. And basically, it warns the other gangs that this area belongs to us, is our territory.
At the crime scene, there was graffiti pretty much everywhere. Telephone poles, light poles, up and down the alley, on the brick walls, in the carports. There was a lot of indication that there was gang activity in the alley.
Near the crime scene, the primary graffiti was the letters OLB. And that's the predominant gang in the area. They control that neighborhood.
OLB is a Cambodian gang called the Oriental Lazy Boys.
The Oriental Lazy Boys gang has been around since the early 80s. And back then when it started, there was about 30, 40 strong. And then it went all the way up to probably several hundred gang members.
The main activities of the Oriental Lazy Boys involved money-making activities, drug dealing, chain snatches, robberies, just to get money for drugs.
So the Oriental Lazy Boys are known for small crimes, not murder. So police have to wonder what might have occurred for this to escalate into a killing.
Dr. Noor's heart-shaped locket contained a picture of his late wife.
His wife, Hoy, is the love of his life. They have great relationship. He cherished her.
In 1978, under the Khmer Rouge, Dr. Noor's wife hides her identity alongside her husband. She's carrying their first child, and when she has complications during childbirth, their risk of being exposed escalates.
She was premature about the baby, 7 months pregnant. We have no medicines, no equipment, no material to operate. Secondly, we had a lot of spies around the house.
If Dr. Noor doesn't use his medical knowledge to help save his wife, she and the baby may die. But if he does help her, the Khmer Rouge will know he's a doctor and kill him and his whole family.
She dies in my arms.
He was like almost go crazy. Like it's not worth living anymore. You feel guilty. You know, you're a doctor, you cannot save your own wife.
The only thing Hang has to remember his wife is a small photo. And he manages to hide that photo from the Khmer Rouge and is able to smuggle it out of Cambodia. He then takes the photo and encases it in a gold locket and wears it around his neck always.
He feel that Hoy's always with him everywhere he go. That's why he always wear that necklace. Always.
That's the only item he had to remind him of a wife that he lost. And I'm sure he would have given up his Rolex watch. But when you take something so cherished by Dr. Noor, a picture of his late wife, he's gonna put up a struggle. He's gonna fight you on that one.
With the newly obtained information, Officer Yi canvasses the Chinatown neighborhood, gathering more intelligence on OLB activity in the area. When a former OLB gang member gives him a name, he says a man called Farik Sariq may know something about the murder. Police bring Farik in for an interview.
He was afraid to talk because, one, he didn't want to get killed. He didn't want to get involved, but I interviewed him, as well as Detective Garcia numerous times, and finally we gained his trust.
Farik said that he was getting in the car when he hears gunshots. Then he saw 3 individuals running in his direction, 3 individuals that he knew from the neighborhood, and they demanded that they be taken to another gang member's residence.
Farik knew the men were OLB gang members, so refusing wasn't an option. But he's hesitant to point a finger at the Oriental Lazy Boys. After several long interviews, he finally gives in.
He identified 3 OLB gang members called Solo, Cloudy, and Rambo.
Detective Garcia puts together a photo lineup of known gang members of the Oriental Lazy Boys and asks Farik if he can identify Solo, Cloudy, and Rambo. Farik immediately points out 3 photos.
Farik identified each one of the 3 gang members, and that would be Tak Tan, who was known as Rambo, Jason Chan, who was known as Cloudy, and Indra Lim, who was known as Solo.
He picked them, all 3 of them. There's no doubt about it.
Farik also tells detectives where he dropped off Rambo, Cloudy, and Solo. They're able to verify that it is the residence of OLB gang member Tal May, who goes by the nickname of T-Bone. Detectives decide to pay T-Bone a visit to verify Farik's story.
I shot out to his house that night. His family opened the door, and somebody gave him a heads up that we were coming. The family said he left for Washington. I mean, he just grabbed his clothes and left.
Investigators are tracking down a gang member known as T-Bone to verify a lead that 3 fellow gang members were dropped off at his house right after the shooting of award-winning actor Hang Noor. But now, T-Bone has fled the state.
He just came home, got his stuff, and left.
That happens all the time in gang cases. They found out from someone who lived at the house that T-Bone was staying with relatives in Washington.
We called Seattle Police Department, informed them of the case.
The Washington Police Department actually helped us locate T-Bone, and they picked him up, brought him back to the police station.
And within a matter of hours, we were on an aircraft heading out to Washington.
Detective Garcia needs T-Bone to tell him what he knows about the night of Hang Noor's murder, but it's more challenging than expected.
That was a very difficult interview. T-Bone was very reluctant, and to gain his trust, I spent hours speaking with him. And at one point, he started to cry. And that's when I knew we got him. Here it is. It's time to go for the throat.
T-Bone told the detectives that about 2 weeks before the murder, Jason Chan had a handgun, and he actually identified a picture of a Glock 9mm pistol, which was the murder weapon
What T-Bone reveals next is what Detective Garcia has been praying for.
He told Garcia that the night of the murder, the defendants had come to his residence and said that they were going to go do a jack, which is a robbery, or a snatch to get money for drugs.
T-Bone sends them on their way, and a short time later, the three gang members return.
He heard a frantic door knock. He sees these three individuals, Tuk Sun Tan, Indra Lim, Jason Chan. They rushed into the door, and one of them brandishes a gun and says, "We just shot someone." I'm thinking, oh my God, thank you.
Detective Garcia then shows T-Bone the photo lineup of known Oriental Lazy Boys gang members.
I said to him, I want you to identify these three people that walked into your house that night. And he identified the same three people that Barik Sariq identified. That's when I knew we had a case.
Now that they have Barik Sariq's identification from the night he drove the three gang members to T-Bone's house, together with T-Bone's identification, Craig Hum issues arrest warrants for Tak Tan, Jason Chan, and Indra Lim. And within days, all three are arrested and charged with first-degree murder in the death of Dr. Hang Noor. The prosecution now starts building their theory of how the murder occurred. They theorized that as Hang Noor was getting out of his car after returning home from dinner with Tommy New, the three gang members attempted a chain snatch. But when Dr. Noor refused to give up the locket, Jason Chan, who owned the gun, shot him. But police still have to wonder, why did they leave $3,000 behind?
We received information that right after the shooting, there was a vehicle turning into the alley. My theory is that spooked them, so they took what they can get and run.
A year later, when the trial begins in February of 1998, not everyone is convinced they have the right guys.
I'm David Goodwin, former attorney for Indra Lim. The prosecution's case was terribly weak. There was the lack of evidence that you normally see in a murder case.
I'm Ralph Goldson, and I was Jason Chan's attorney. The investigators looked for a weapon. They looked for the allegedly stolen goods. They executed search warrants. No weapons were found, and no fruits of the robbery were found.
Complicating things further, the judge decides to try all three murder cases simultaneously in the same courtroom.
The prosecution will have to convince 36 jurors of the gang members' guilt.
Half the courtroom was filled with jurors. I'd never seen anything like that in my life.
Cases relying heavily on two testimonies. That of Barik Sariq, who said that he picked the defendants up in the alley, and of T-Bone, who claimed that the defendants told him they had shot someone. But when Barik takes the stand, he claims that he was coerced by police to give false statements.
Recantation is one of the most common things that I've seen. Sometimes you've made a mistake, you're not sure, your memory fails you. It doesn't indicate somebody's lying.
The defense uses Barik's testimony to cast doubt on the prosecution's case.
That's a classic strategy defense attorneys use, because all they need to do is show a shadow of a doubt to the jurors.
Barik was clearly fearful. He admitted that he was fearful. So when he made those original statements, he had no reason to lie and say the defendants were involved unless they really were.
Now T-Bone takes the stand. He claims he can't remember what he told police and doesn't recall the night in question.
I don't think T-Bone was a very important witness. I mean, he didn't see them in the alley, and juries are routinely instructed that you can't convict just because somebody made false statements to the police.
I wasn't surprised T-Bone recanted. It's almost to be expected. When you're looking at your fellow gang members, you don't want to look at them in the eye, just basically, I'm a snitch. So the only thing they know to do is to recant.
But prosecuting attorney Craig Humm has taped recordings of both Varique's and T-Bone's statements. And he plays Varique's statement for the jury.
It was important to play Varique's recorded testimony because it let the jurors know what Varique said originally, that nobody was forcing Varique to say anything, that he was making those statements because that's what he saw.
Then Craig Humm plays T-Bone's tape-recorded testimony for the jury.
He slowly slid down in his seat, almost as if he was trying to disappear from view, because it was clear he had, in fact, implicated the three defendants in the crimes.
After the recorded interview ends, T-Bone's reaction stuns the courtroom.
T-Bone actually looked over at the defendants and said, "To all my homies, I just want to say I'm sorry. I know you want to kill me, but I'm sorry for what I did."
He just corroborated the whole thing. I've never seen that before, ever in my life.
I think that alone, when he did that in the courtroom, really showed the jury that we had the right guys.
In a last-ditch effort, defense attorneys claimed the murder was a political assassination and that police were just anxious to close the case because it was such a high-profile homicide.
After 6 weeks of courtroom testimony, the fate of gang members Indra Lim, Tak Sun Tan, and Jason Chan are now in the hands of 3 juries.
I was concerned because you have 36 jurors, and all it takes is one juror to say, nope, I have a doubt. It wasn't them.
On April 16, 1998, 3 gang members are on trial for the murder of humanitarian and award-winning actor Hang Noor. After 7 days of deliberations, the verdicts come in.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Indra Lim, guilty of the crime of first-degree murder. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Tak Sun Tan, guilty of the crime of first-degree murder. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Jason Chan, guilty of the crime of first-degree murder.
Nothing we do can bring him to me now, but I always cherish his memory.
I was relieved in a way, but I was very sad. I'm not going to celebrate, I'm not happy. But at least I find some justice for my uncle.
I certainly feel that justice was served. I was very pleased that the jurors had made the right decision, that they had seen through the defense attempts to muddy things up, and that they came back with the verdicts that they did.
36 people came to the same conclusion. So yeah, I sleep well at night.
4 weeks later, the 3 Oriental Lazy Boys are sentenced for first-degree murder.
Indra Lim received 26 years to life. Tak Tan received 56 years to life because he had a prior serious felony. And Jason Chan received life without the possibility of parole because he was the actual shooter.
In a twist of fate, Pol Pot, the man responsible for the killing of Hang Noor's family and millions of other Cambodians, is confirmed dead of a heart attack 1 day earlier. And his ruthless regime, the Khmer Rouge, began to fall apart.
About a decade later, in November 2009, one of the Khmer Rouge leaders stuns Cambodians with accusations that it was actually Pol Pot who had Hang Nor killed.
His charges reverberate through the Cambodian community in Los Angeles. Some in the community are so fearful of the Khmer Rouge that his claims cast doubt on whether or not Hang Nor's death was a robbery.
Even to this day, I'm still getting backlash that it's not a gang-related crime, that it has to do with the Khmer Rouge Cambodian government, regardless of the evidence.
There certainly were suspicions that this was a political hit, but 36 jurors came to the same decision that it was a street robbery.
The story of Hang Nor is so heartbreaking and tragic that this man would survive all this torture and the atrocities that he went through in Cambodia to come to America and become an Oscar-winning actor, do all these wonderful things for his fellow Cambodians, and then tragically lose his life in a random robbery.
He was a very brave man, and he did what he felt was his duty to speak up for his people, and I commend him for that.
The killing field just...
What an incredible human being Dr. Nor was, to have suffered so much, to have gone through so much, and to come to the United States, to make a life for himself, to become an actor, and to speak out against the people who had wronged him.
Human rights violation in Cambodia.
Today, Sophia is the president of the Hang S. Nor Foundation. The foundation celebrates the life and humanitarian efforts of Dr. Hang Nor by providing aid and assistance to Cambodian communities and victims of the genocide.
It's always very humble man. He's always say, better to be humble and always be kind. He always just do what the right thing to do to help out people. So I formed the foundation to cherish his memory.
I'm the star in Hollywood, right? But what for? Star, what for? Did you see my people, suffering people here? That's my people. That's my heart. That's my nation here. In Hollywood, what for? It means nothing for me. Nothing.
I still think about him a lot. Sometimes I wish he's here, see my kid grow up, you know. How I raised them, the way he raised me. And it's very hard.